Hey, everybody. Hope everybody had a great and safe and happy new year. Those who are nursing a hangover today, like many of us, this is non-alcoholic, just FYI. I can't speak for anybody else in here. Matter of fact, I'm pretty well sure that what they're drinking is alcoholic. But, well, especially her. Just, I can guarantee that.
It's not. It's just Coke.
It's what?
I'm letting everybody down. It's just Coke. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, mine's just tea, so I guess we're not.
Yeah, Paul's drinking though.
Paul's allowed to. He's not feeling well, so Paul, drink up.
I just had cough syrup last night, so that's all.
Yeah.
Oh, road tripping. Yeah. Awesome.
That was yeah, I was messed up.
So people, I guess, what we're going to be talking about, Paulogia and Shannon wanted to kind of talk a little bit about pseudoscience communication strategies because they've been involved in a heavy conversation between each other for quite a while, resulting in discord and strife and anger and violence and a whole bunch of other things. No, they're fine. But it was an interesting thing, I guess. So we're going to take it on to other people. So we got Godless Engineer, we got Godless Cranium. We might have a few other people drop in here and there. Yes, Shannon is the hot one. That's not Paul. Just people are asking. Yes, it's not Paul. Actually, you know what I'm going to do is, well, you know, I was going to show the live chat, but you know what? Yeah, it doesn't matter. So Shannon, why don't you start us off? Tell us what you really wanted to talk about on this whole pseudo communication strategies, because I kind of know what you're referring to, but you can give a much better in-depth intro than I can on this.
Okay, so what I essentially wanted to talk about was the strategies that are used by people who are proponents of things like young earth creationism and any sort of pseudoscience. So like alternative medicine, for example, the ways that they communicate their science and the type of strategies that they use to convince people, because obviously what they're doing is convincing. So their strategies are effective. So I've been having a series of interesting conversations and been consuming some interesting media and some interesting research about how people communicate bad ideas and are able to convince people that they're legitimate. So I wanted to have a discussion with some other people who are in the skeptic community about how they deal with and how they counter those types of strategies and how they perceive them. So that's why I wanted to do this today. And Paul, I just drag him wherever I go.
Well, this was a discussion originally with Paul a little bit, right?
Yeah, it was. Well, we were talking earlier. Well, it kind of stemmed from when we had done a video, and I was so infuriated during. Usually, I'm in the background of videos. I just kind of do research and I do the B-roll and I discuss things and like we bounce ideas off of each other, but I'm never in the forefront of any of the videos. But when we did the video on the human and chimp genome similarities, when I was going through the research and I was looking through the AIG research that Tompkins did, the misrepresentations even within the research, yet alone them presenting that research as accurate and how that research was constructed was a huge deal to me. When I first looked and realized that they had a journal, Paul can even attest to the fact that when I was first exposed to the AIG journal and I read their research, I was like, why did these guys have an abstract? An abstract? What how? Like this isn't research. There's nothing scientific about this. Why would they even have an abstract? And the reason that they have an abstract is because they want to create the artifice of science so that anybody who's looking at it, if you're a layperson, would interpret it as science based on how it's presented as opposed to how it's conducted. And that allows them to then present it as science because they've ticked all of the boxes for what science is supposed to look like on a superficial level. And that was one of the first times I'd encountered something like that, because I've only ever really read research that was scientific. I'd never looked into these sorts of sources to source them. And it was a huge eye opener and awakening for me, and I'm still reeling from it a bit. So I'm interested in how other people have encountered it and what they've come up against.
It's funny you mention it like that, because one of the things we all noticed when it comes to a lot of these people promoting pseudoscience is they use the jargon. They use a lot of scientific jargon. They look on, like you said, superficially on the surface that they are saying something very scientific. And of course, most people don't have the expertise or the knowledge or the prerequisites to kind of look at it and go, okay, you know what, this is either true or false. Either accept or they don't. They really don't do anything to validate it, except for, you know, people in our community that have the expertise. They can. That people like Ruhif has looked into Tompkins' work, and many others. But what you said really, I think, was the crux of it. They don't use scientific methodological approaches, right? They don't do anything that an actual scientist would actually do in a real paper. Correct? Is that kind of the point you're trying to make? Like method sections or showing how to repeat it, or really, it would never actually be promoted in any kind of real scientific journal, right?
Well, they did have a method section. They had a material and method section, and they had sort of the same.
Did he have that paper? The one about the 70% genomic analysis? Did he have a method section?
He did.
It was mainly listing the specs on his computer that he'd used.
Which,
yes.
well, one of them he didn't, because I think it was one of the human chromosome papers.
Oh, it's possible that some of them he didn't, but
yeah, I don't think he had a method section like that, because that was one of the criticisms that Ruhif and other people brought up, that on his human chromosome.
oh, you know, you're actually very right. On his retraction paper, he had no method.
Yeah, the retraction paper, right? Okay,
yeah.
Okay, which he did retract, by the way. But okay, so go ahead.
Yeah, there's a link to it though. You wouldn't know that it was retracted unless
the link was never taken down, correct?
They didn't take down the first one, and they didn't link to the retraction from the original either. So if you find the original, then you don't see the retraction.
And they linked to the original in the new one. They said that's another thing that's just bananas to me. That after it was retracted, they redid the research. And when they redid the research, they said others have found closer to 70%. Other researchers have found closer to 70% human genome chimp similarity. And you click the link, and it's the original retracted research that they had to redo the research that they linked to it in because it had been retracted.
Does anybody real quick want to give a rundown of that original 70%, how it came to be, how it was retracted? I know the story, but if anybody else wants to go into it, be my guest. If anybody cares.
Well, yeah, and that's not to say what we're talking about that specifically with this hangout, but just very briefly, the claim had been made, or keeps being made, in creation and Answers in Genesis particularly. They keep talking about how the fact that chimps and humans are really only 70% more, or closer to 70% common in genetic material than the 96 to 98% that is often presented in science. And so one of their geneticists, you know, ran a study, and they basically, the comparison, instead of comparing indels, which, so insertion deletion events. So boy, it's been a while since I talked about this. If you have a sentence like the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, and you have another sentence that says the quick fox jumps over the lazy dog, what's different there? Well, the word brown isn't there. So the way most scientists talk about that is, oh, well, the word brown was deleted. And so that's one difference. And they were trying to count that as like 5 differerences, which is one way to do it, which is also fine. But also what was ultimately found, even when they did all that, was that there was actually used a bug in the software. There's a software version that they were using that had a bug in one particular version. It was quickly patched. And when they reran the research with the patched fixed version, they were getting 96 again, even with their wonky counting 5 as 1 and all that kind of stuff. So basically, now even the creationists have to admit that it's really closer to 96, but they keep referring back to this erroneous paper of 70%, where they know that it was invalid, but they can keep referencing it as a real thing. So does that?
Yep, that pretty much understand. Yep, that's it in a nutshell.
Okay. I'm high on cough syrup, so I don't know.
No, it's quite. I was trying to show something in the side chat there. It didn't work, so I want to apologize because I just looked at the link that I had put into a Facebook thing, and I have no control over screen cap. So I'm going to show this, and I'm going to kind of because it's hilarious. Sorry, Shannon, but this is what it came out to be. So.
What was it? No. Let me see.
That's the thumbnail for
Stop it.
I'm so sorry. It's not strategic or anything like that. That's the thumbnail. I'm so sorry.
I don't believe you.
We do reviews here, you see.
The shirt still rocks. But...
Yeah, well, it's a shirt. Yeah, no, I'm just saying it's because of the shirt. Yeah, that's the only reason. Nice shirt. You want to talk about the shirt? It's a great shirt.
Yeah, I bought it from a Teespring.
Oh God.
It's Paul's favorite shirt.
Sorry.
And now he's extra happy about it. No, I have to deal with
Godless
that.
Craniums material. That's it. That's all it is. Promotional for Godless Craniums merchandise.
Subscribe to Paulogia. It's a really good chance. We don't have a Teespring.
So go into more detail about the actual strategies they use. And it's funny that you brought this up because I was thinking something else earlier. I'd watching a feed from somebody else who's around, and they were doing something on intelligent design, blah, 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 ATP, mayonnaise, flagella, the typical ID, all scientists are stupid thing. And I had noticed that they still promoted nothing but fallacy after fallacy and misunderstanding after misunderstanding. Are these common strategies that you're finding now, Shannon, that it's just blanket them with BS rather than actually show the actual real science? Because I've noticed if they don't have a basic understanding to begin with, there's two types of communicators in the science pseudoscientific area. There's the ones that are just out there putting forth, repeating what they hear, and then you have the primary ones like Tompkins who are putting it out there, right? And so there's two different types of pseudoscience out there. There's one that's actually doing it, the primary people, and then everybody else, which is just kind of secondary redactors kind of thing. They just look at it and just parrot it. What do you find on that?
Well, I think there's two groups. There's the communicators, and there's those who are actually engaging in doing what they consider to be the research. And they're two very separate groups that interact with one another. So there's the group of people that are creating research so that they can find a predetermined conclusion, that are constructing methodologies and constructing studies around finding a specific outcome, as opposed to creating a hypothesis and putting in controls so that they can test that hypothesis. They're looking to find something specific, something that's predetermined, something that they're trying to prove and support, an overreaching body that they're trying to create a groundswell of support for, that will create shoddy research. And then there are the people that take that shoddy research and knowingly present, and knowing that it's shoddy research and that it's garbage, and present it to the public as though it's research, knowing better. And they're two separate groups that interact with one another, and they're both equally as deplorable in my eyes, and both exist and both are prevalent. And I really am curious, especially I know how puppies all look at Bella.
Look at the puppy. Puppies.
But GE and GC, you guys have been doing this for a while. Do you come across this a lot? Because it floored me so much that, especially the fact that they misrepresented and misinterpreted legitimate science in order to further their claims. That's what blew me away too. They took legitimate science, took a snippet of it, just quote mined it, threw it into their research, and then just misrepresented it, just blatantly, with just complete disregard for what that might mean, because there's no consequences for doing something like that.
Well,
there aren't.
Right. And I mean, that's what they do. I mean, it's all about cognitive dissonance is what it is. I mean, in confirmation bias, they're only looking for the monicum of things or statements that they can use to justify their own beliefs instead of challenging their beliefs. So what you end up getting are people that don't know how to read like scientific journal entries or experiments or experiment write-ups or anything like that. They end up reading those like the abstracts, like you were talking about before, and taking little snippets of it and then making it work for them. A good example of that is the movie Expelled. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. It's the Ben Stein sort of documentary
Absolutely.
thing.
Yes, yes.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
so yes.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
regularly
It's like 9% on Rotten Tomatoes.
yeah.
Maybe 11 now. I think it's 11%. It's like one of the lowest of all time.
Well, it's probably not as low as Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas, but
That was good, though.
No spoilers. I haven't seen that yet, so no spoilers.
You saved Christmas. Don't tell Steve.
I don't think I ever.
But with that Expelled movie, they always take like Richard Dawkins out of context. Like they edit it up so it seems like Richard Dawkins admits that there's a higher intelligence that he would rather call aliens than God, but he admits that there's some kind of higher intelligence that created everything. And that's not what he was doing. Like what he was doing was he was explaining panspermia and how that's a possible way for life to have gotten here without life actually forming on Earth. Like that's what he was talking about, but they edited it up so that it looked like he was admitting to a higher intelligence. And of course, for an atheist to do that doesn't make sense. But that's what they do, though. I mean, you see it in Ray Comfort's stuff. He has his quote unquote movies. They're not movies. They're him walking around Orange County, and talking to people on the beach. And you have these people that do these things and ask very pointed questions or even plant people, in the crowd and whatnot.
I like the fact you mentioned the way they edited that, by the way, John.
What?
The Frankenstein cuts.
Yeah.
Which is a strategy they used, and eventually we get to Paul, and that Paul could probably tell us all about how Frankenstein cuts work. But yeah, that's a strategy they use, though. You say one thing, and they'll edit it somewhere completely differently and move things around, so it's kind of juxtaposed.
Yeah, which I've actually been accused of doing here lately, or well, rather, quote unquote, twisting reality. That Street Preacher Joe has been really hard up on me for twisting reality or something like that. I don't know.
In dishonest edits kind of thing.
Yeah, because like Red's, as we all know, he does like flat Earth stuff, and he has his video footage, and people say that he is dishonest edits, and you've got 3 different camera angles, all timelined. It's there's no possible way they could be edited, stuff like that. But people still accuse it. But then you look at something like Expelled, you could tell that was edited. I mean, you can tell that there was a question asked. It was an answer to a different question prior. They would whenever you cut away and you're not even looking at the person anymore, you just hear like the audio. There's a chance for some of these people that it's a Frankenstein cut.
Weird Al was the best at that.
Weird Al Yankovic?
Yeah, he used to. For people who are old and Canadian,
I went to school with his cousin. True story.
Oh, cool. He used to do interviews with people on New Year's Eve. Weirdly enough, he would, Frankenstein. He would take press junkets with like the president or whatever, but he would just insert his own question to whatever their answers had been. But he wasn't even in the same room, and so yeah. But yeah.
Oh, when it's done honestly, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, CC uses that a lot. Creationist Cat.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Well, yeah, they'll have someone answering the question, well, it's brown, and then you can ask, hey, what color is your underwear today? That gets inserted in there.
You heard it. Creationist Cat is dishonest. Sorry, CC, I love you, but yeah, we caught you, brother. We caught you.
So, GC, what are some of your favorite communication strategies for these guys?
Well, full disclosure, I've been fucking around in the chat.
Yeah, I caught you.
He hasn't heard any of it. He's not even kidding. Not
I
even
know
kidding.
GC's always in the chat. That's
Yeah, and totally just checking out your dog, which is, but I don't know. I think that they just start with the conclusion and then work backwards from there usually, right? And they do what you guys were talking about, the little that I caught about.
He's not even paying attention. Is what he's trying to say. He's just here to be in the chat.
Hey, I can only do one thing well at a time.
Yeah, multitasking, not his thing. We all know that.
But yeah, I think that they'll cherry pick parts and then take out real research and put it in. So basically, it's just confirmation bias, right? That's
Well, I mean, you've seen the AIG. It's either AIG or ICR. I honestly, it's one or the other. But you've seen their mission statements, their articles of faith, and stuff like that. It says in there, literally, no amount of science or facts can change the fact that what they believe is true, is that the Earth is, young. Whatever the narrative that they put out, nothing can change that. It starts off with the conclusion that they already want to have. So any evidence that they have that is showing that to be incorrect, they just either dismiss it, they hand wave it away, they try to come up with all kinds of alternative facts, like for the whole radiological decay thing, they come up with the heat, accelerated decay to explain the heat problem. That's what I see most often. And just FYI, we do have two scientists coming in here in a week or so to talk about exactly that and how they do that, and how that all the evidence is scientifically showing this, but they're going to find some way to try to say that even though the evidence looks like that's the case, there's some other reason why it looks that way, but they can't ever demonstrate that other reason.
So two of the ones that I've been coming across of late, mainly because I've been dealing with Eric's movie. First is dishonest credentials. So people who have real credentials in something use those credentials to infer that they are qualified in something they're not. So these places will hire anyone with a PhD in literally anything so that they can call them Dr. So-and-so. So there's this Dr. J, what's that dude's name?
Dr. J.
No, is he a basketball player?
No, yeah, well, that's why he calls it anyways.
sounds like a pimp.
There's this
He
doctor,
looks like Jeff Goldblum.
there's a doctor in the recent Genesis Paradise Lost movie who he has a doctorate in
No, he doesn't. He's 4
no,
degrees.
he does have a
Does he have a
doctorate,
doctorate?
but in education, and it's not a PhD, it's a PED. So he has a whatever you get past the masters at that college, but they call it a PED.
Mm-hmm.
So he calls himself doctor, and they put him up, in this movie as if, with these other scientists, as if he's a scientist, but he's a grade school teacher who has a doctorate in how to educate people, not in any science. So, for example, and you see that, I just see that frequently where no one cares as long as you're a doctor in something that they'll put them forward and have them speak on literally any topic.
You talked about, is it Dr. Jeremy Lyon?
No, his last name starts
J.
Jackson. I'll look it up.
Dr. Talk to Charles Jackson?
Yes, thank you, Charles Jackson.
Is that the guy who said that he has 4 degrees and most evolutionists only have 3?
That's right. That's why his stuff was better.
Masters in biology, science education, and supposedly environmental biology.
Yeah.
Well, that's also why people like Jordan Peterson get taken seriously, right? Because they have credentials in he's a psychologist, I think, clinical psychologist. So they automatically think that he can speak on theology or whatever. I'm not saying that he's completely wrong about any subject that he touches on, because he has a PhD
of course.
in psychology.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it shouldn't be that he's automatically right. And most people don't actually listen to what he's saying. They just take it on faith, or I don't know. Faith isn't the right word, but I mean, they just take it because
authority, I wouldn't say this is true across pseudoscience, but certainly taking things on authority is big in the Christian community. So it's all top down.
You know what we should do, Paul? We should get a fundraiser for you. We'll get you go through Patriot Bible School. We'll get you that PhD, and we can call you Dr. Paul.
Yeah, that'd be great. Or I could finish up and get my doctorate in computer science, and then pretend I know everything, and then I pretend I know everything about genetics.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. You get one degree, and obviously you're an expert on everything. That's how it works.
Right. Because obviously, Bill Gates is the one they always pull on. Well, Bill Gates says the DNA is a code. Okay, great.
Yeah, analogies are lost upon many.
Yeah.
What infuriates me, though, is the ones that have legitimate PhDs in the field that they're doing fake research in, like the Georgia Purdums of the world. And the
Tompkins too.
Tompkinses of the world. Yeah, exactly. And the Tompkins of the world. And like who's the geologist? Oh, where's Dan? Dan would know. I should have been writing Dan.
There's Snelling and there's
Yes.
Austin.
Yeah, like the ones who get the PhD and earned the PhD and then are just flying in the face of everything they learned and everything that they studied for. Like what was the name of there was a recent article, maybe somebody in the chat might know this. I'm sure you
People that watch this, they really
GC, if you're paying attention to the chat.
If you're the chat,
let me know. So there was a guy, and he studied, I believe it was either paleontology or geology. And he essentially said when he was finished his PhD research, I don't believe any of this crap. I believe the Earth is 6,000 years old, and I'm just using these numbers because that's what I need to do to get this degree from you people. So
I don't know who specifically
give
was,
it
but
to
it
me.
sounds familiar.
And
Yeah,
they
that
were
was
like,
in the New York Times.
We have to. They're like, yeah, you did the work, and your work is legitimate. Here's your degree. And then he walked over to Liberty University.
Look at if they can do
was
the work and they can demonstrate
young Earth creationism.
They could. I have no problem with
those
that.
Credentials. But yeah, I have no problem with them giving him the degree because he earned it. He did earn it. I'm like, give him the degree. I'm on that team. I'm on the give him the degree team. He did the work. What bothers me is what goes through his head.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you this. Okay, this is a good question.
How do you reconcile that?
Do you think?
The chat said you're talking about Andrew Snelling.
Is it Andrew Snelling? Okay.
No, he's a younger guy.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't.
No.
I'll look it up.
I don't think
Andrew Snelling's not American. This happened in the States. I don't think. Was Andrew Snelling educated in America?
Damn you, chat, for being wrong.
It's like one of those ask an audience. They're not always right. You know that, right?
The chat's very educated. I have mad props for the chat all the time.
So let me ask you: if we all agree that they
say who it actually is, it's Marcus Ross.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, I'm not
from the University of Rhode Island. Anyway.
Yep.
Okay. So do you guys think that there should be something that if people after they get a degree, then afterwards they say things so egregious and so opposite of science, do you think that should be revocable?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
No.
I don't think it is either, but I could understand some colleges going, you know what, we gave you the degree, but we don't want to have anything associated with you. We think that you no longer represent where you get the degree from, because once you get that degree, you do represent that college to some degree.
Right.
Yeah, I could see them disavowing that person and saying they're not credible, right? But at the same time, they still earn that degree. So,
I agree.
But it's just like any other field that you enter. I mean, right down to if you're cleaning up yard waste, right? Like if you go around stealing people's items, and they're going to know that you're a stealer, and they're just not going to hire you, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't think anybody should take anybody's degree away if they earned it, just because they made a choice later on that flies in the face of the degree that they earned.
And most of them do recognize, though, that the evidence they used and they get their degree is legit evidence. I mean, I haven't seen very few people with degrees out there going, "Hey, look, all this evidence is wrong." Their narrative, and this goes directly into the communication strategy, is that their narrative is that yes, all the evidence points to an old Earth, but let's explain why it's not. Let's try to show reasons why we think there's other factors not being taken into account. And as I said before, none have them ever been able to demonstrate to those other factors.
Which is fine if you're going to do legitimate science. Like if you have that hypothesis and you want to construct, research around that hypothesis, and you feel like you can conduct research and maybe prove that hypothesis, and you have the right confines in place for that research, and you can control for other variables, and you feel like you have really strong methodology, then great. Do it. Submit it for peer review. Awesome. I can't wait to read it. Great.
Frozen C said degree no, but job or tenure maybe. I can see
Fair enough.
that.
Fair enough. Yeah, I agree with Frozen C on that.
Because
Yeah.
a degree is not a free pass to being considered an authority. You still, even though you've earned your degree, you haven't earned your a reputation yet, unless you've done legitimate science. Like, you're not going to be able to just say, okay, I have a degree. Here's my paper, peer reviewers. I have a degree, so just, rubber stamp that and put it through, because here's my degree. Look, there it is. I'm literally pointing mine. It's on the wall right there. But that's not the way it works. Sorry. You can't just do that.
Go ahead.
No, nothing. I wasn't saying. I'm sorry. I should have turned my mic off. I was just laughing at the chat because the guy said it's Mr. Intelligent Design, and he said Shannon, the reviewers are dumb when the topic is intelligence, and then Booleanator says that's a false equivalency. You're conflating evidence and a lack of it. And then my favorite part says you could do with a dose of intelligence.
Well, I'll tell you what, just for a little, we'll get into Mr. ID here in a second, but
who's Mr. ID? Why don't I know?
No, please don't ask that yet.
No,
please.
Okay.
You don't know what you're opening here. We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
I don't know who G-Man is. I gotta find that out too.
Oh, G-Man's a PhD compared to this guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Go ahead, John.
Well, I was going to point out another facet of the degree topic. That's people who have like honorary degrees posing as people that have actual like doctorates.
What is that?
Yeah, that's when they say like, Hovind has like 5 honorary degrees.
Right. So does Ken Ham. And yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to point out a right-wing watch star, David Barton, who has most recently been caught, saying, "Oh, I have, I think he said he had an earned doctorate or something," and like he was using it in order to legitimize himself. But I mean, they use those kind of things like honorary doctorates and all that kind of stuff to like call themselves like a doctor of whatever, or to give themselves an air of legitimacy of whatever they're talking about. And so they will take like an honorary degree and pass it off as like a legit like doctorate that they worked for.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll speak with authority on a subject matter based on that doctorate. So like if somebody, let's just say, like I went to a university called St. Mary's University, so they have a huge faculty there. I got a degree in psychology there. But they have a massive biology faculty. My best friend, she's doing her PhD research at Carleton right now. That she went there and she did her undergraduate and master's in biology. If I had contributed enough to that faculty, I could potentially get an honorary doctorate somewhere down the road in biology. I was never educated in biology. I would never attempt to speak with authority on that subject. I would enter into a discussion on it, perhaps with my opinion based on the things that I do know, but I would never espouse authority on that subject. So these people have received an honorary doctorate in whatever subject matter and are now essentially pretending to be experts because somebody gave them a piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, and it's not necessarily ever like in the actual field that they have like an honorary doctorate in.
So
like it's just any topic. Like they won't elaborate on it. And actually, I think David Barton said that he had like an earned doctorate. That's what he said, but it come to find out that it was, I think it was like an honorary one. But I mean, like he would use it to like say that. I know we got a book published on Jefferson that was so like wrong, like historically inaccurate, that the publisher actually pulled it off of its like publishing shelves and whatnot. Like it had it. Oh my God.
No.
Well, just as an example, Meryl Streep has 3 doctorates. Ben Affleck has one. P. Diddy has one. Oprah Winfrey has 4. So
You
know,
get a degree. You get a degree.
Yeah.
Geek room. You got PhDs now. Yes.
Oh, and Alec
You know what?
Baldwin has one. So yeah, so we're
I need to get in the rich person line where they're just like, here's your doctorate.
I
Like,
know,
don't worry
really.
about it. Just have it. You don't have to.
Dr. Shannon.
Yeah,
It's got a good ring. Dr. Shannon.
yeah, it's probably not gonna happen.
Yeah, the geek room's thinking of, they're like, yeah, you know what? The only way we're ever going to have a title, degree is honorary. So go
I
geek
love
room.
the geek room.
Dude, I love the geek room. Geek room's awesome.
Me too.
Yeah.
Have me
They're
on
all-
one day. I like you guys.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
almost up
Wait.
to
What about
1,000
you? Have
subs.
one down there? I'm sorry. What?
Oh, I just said that they're almost up to 1,000 subs.
Yay!
Yay!
They have not had you on yet, Shannon. What the hell's wrong with them?
Right?
I don't-
know.
you know
What's
what? I don't
wrong
like
with
them
you?
anymore.
I don't like you.
Yeah.
I changed my mind. That's
Yeah.
right. Steve just reminded me I hate you.
I haven't been on either, so
Me neither.
we're in the bad. Yeah.
Wow. Epic fail across the
They
board.
are
geek
they
room.
are dissing us all.
Yeah.
Gee, were you on? Did they invite
Feel
you?
slighted.
We're gonna have to call them the shit room from now on. Sorry about that.
Were you on the geek room, G?
Yeah, I've been on a couple times. I think.
A couple times.
He gets 3 and you guys, okay. We see how, okay.
I
Yeah.
guess being on the geek room is like an honorary doctorate.
Wow. Yeah. The geek room just left our live chat now. They're like, we've been slacking. We'll get you up there. Yeah. Oh, that's too funny. Two things. One, we kind of glazed over this, but I want to say real quick, when you're talking about some of the things they did, I've noticed that none of these people ever have any falsification criteria for anything that they've espoused. They're in the hypothesis, and it's kind of funny because I was just watching, our friend Aaron tonight, and Aaron and I was doing this debate with this flat earther, and I didn't watch most of it. I watched some of it, and one of the greatest questions Aaron asked was, this guy believes that there's an ice wall around Antarctica, and obviously, if you go to Antarctica and you could actually demonstrate that. You would have to go flying around this huge circumference of ice that goes around the perimeter of the Earth. And he was trying to work out with him, okay, what would it take for you to disconfirm your belief that there's an ice wall around the Earth? This guy had no answer whatsoever. And I think that translates equally across all pseudoscience, is that none of them have an answer to that. What would disconfirm what you believe? Because there isn't anything that can disconfirm it. As Nephilim Free just said in one of his angus the other day when asked what would disconfirm, he said nothing. Because it cannot be any other way to some of these people. And I find that to be a little disconcerting because that's not how science is done.
Right. But that's not most people. Here's what's upsetting to me. My focus is communication and the assimilation of information, essentially. So how you communicate things and then how other people perceive them and then incorporate them into how they think about things, or whether they decide to even incorporate them into how they think about things. So what's difficult to me is to counteract somebody who perceives that information, because we live in a society right now, in a world where we're just inundated with information that presents itself to us as accurate. And we can literally just 2-3 clicks and we can find something that affirms what we already believe. We can find something. So how do you convince people to be critical thinkers? And when somebody has encountered that information and has made the choice to believe it, like what do you do to counteract that? What is the best strategy to counteract that? That's what I'm struggling with.
That's a great question.
Because somebody's there, you have all of the rest of the information available to you. The same information is available to you, that is available to me, that is available to everybody else. We all have access to it. It's at our fingertips.
Can we say that's a great question? I want somebody to answer that actually. If they have an answer to it. Can we say hi real quick to Ruhif here? People don't know. Ruhif is not the pretty one with the one with the short hair. That's Ruhif. Just make sure.
My wife is hot. Yes.
She is hot. Yeah. Can I say that? Is that okay? You don't offended if I say she's hot? 'Cause she's
I
hot.
would love as many people in.
Smart. That's a
as possible.
smart man.
Yeah.
See,
Good job,
he's like,
Ruth.
yes, she is. Go ahead. Envy me. Yes. That's the way it should be. I think that's actually the way it should be.
Yeah.
So how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. It is now 2018. Woohoo!
Yes.
You're looking very what's the word? Yeah.
Gandalf-like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
It's quite long, actually. Yeah.
Yeah,
You want to see my Jew curls that I showed earlier? Because you weren't here earlier.
Holy shit!
My rabbinical Jew. Yeah. People think I'm going to be Orthodox Hasidic or something. Hava Nagil. I told you I have Jewish roots. I'm not kidding. I mean, it's demonstrable. So.
Yeah.
But we were just talking about you earlier. So we decided to.
Oh, this is Shannon.
Pretty
Hi,
good.
Paul. Yeah. You guys did the chimp video, which is very nice.
We did.
Has there been any response from Jeff Tompkins at all, or anyone from AIG or anyone?
God, no.
Honestly, I think
They
Tompkins
hate me
has
for
me
other
blocked.
reasons.
I have sent things to him and Snelling, and of course we were all talking to them for quite some time. But I think we just go to the spam or the other file at this point.
Yeah.
You know,
They won't
so-
acknowledge
Which is
legitimate
disappointing.
criticism. Because if they
No.
acknowledge
They
legitimate
want a
criticism,
one-sided
then-
conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
no.
Except for when when I interfere with their appearances.
Yeah,
that'd be
Oh, then they
fair.
don't shut up about you.
Yep.
I'm not kidding. I think Ham mentioned you either directly or indirectly, really, but like 6 times in one thing.
Yeah, and I'm open to ideas about what to do in April when he ends up showing up on my doorstep, but that's for another time.
I wish I was
somebody
over there and I
Skyped
could
me, but
just
don't
sort
know
of
who that was.
traipse
I don't
across the
know.
country and harass them.
Yeah, there you go.
But
Well,
Ruth,
that's
if
to come to Australia.
But
mate.
yeah, we were-
Go, Paul.
you debunk this stuff all the time. What do you see as some of the more common strategies they use to communicate things that are not correct?
Like I said before, just a one-sided conversation. They don't engage with criticism. Well, much at least. I mean, he did write that debunking the debunkers paper, but that was not actually addressing the criticisms that I offered. It was more, here's throwing more shit at the problem, like some new data at the problem to make me go away, I think. I haven't actually responded to that paper yet either, so I probably should do that in the next couple of months, I guess.
Well, what does it respond to again? I mean, he never even addressed the criticism that you and some other people had. There was a long list of things that he was aware of, and he never really wanted to. His thing was completely dismissive. His basically thing is that you don't know what you're talking about. You don't have any formal education in this field, which is just honestly that is true. I mean, you can admit you're not really formally educated, but everybody who is formally educated has read your stuff and said that you do know what you're talking about on this. I haven't had not one person yet. And we have a lot of people that know about this stuff. Not one has ever said, yeah, that Ruhif, he doesn't know anything about genetics, or he doesn't know what he's talking about, or he's wrong. Not one.
Yeah, and I don't know how to get them to speak to me. It's hard. I mean, I'd love to talk to Georgia Purdom,
Me too.
Kevin Anderson, Jeff Tompkins, obviously. Like, I don't want to... I think I'm beyond wasting time with someone like Ronnie. Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, no, we don't even bother with that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to rock up. I'm heading to the US in September, so I'd love to sort of rock up, I don't know, in Texas or somewhere, and just lob it at their doorstep and see what happens.
Do you want to?
Kentucky, that's where you got to go.
Yeah, Kentucky.
Who's got to go? We got to.
Kentucky.
No, if he
Oh,
goes
wait,
to Kentucky, that's where.
Oh, Kentucky, that's where Ken Ham is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Ruhif, you had mentioned to me about September. Are you still thinking about something along the lines that we had talked about when you came down here last time?
What was that, to rock over to Texas?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could do that. Yeah, I'll have probably a week over there. Still not entirely sure what I want to do over there. Maybe just play poker a shitload, or
When Ruhif came down last time, I got to tell you, we went to my own stomping ground, and I enjoyed it like you wouldn't believe. That's the first time I've been back there in years. That's actually the longest time I've been outside the house at one time. It was epic. It was fun. I mean, it was just, we got to see, trees, and we went to the mountains, and we had scotch, and we played pool, and It was enjoyable. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna lie. It was one of the best dates I've had in a very long time.
Oh dear.
Hey guys,
There-
I'm gonna take off. I am working on a video, so want to get it out tomorrow. I've had like a couple of people ask
Awesome.
me about getting a video out. So, yeah. So thanks for having me on. It was great chatting with y'all.
Thanks,
Bye.
Val. Anytime, man.
See you later there, GC.
All right, take care, man. Guys, bye.
See you.
Well,
Make- Go ahead.
I was going to say, to answer Shannon's original
Yes,
question
please. Yes.
about like how to get them to, see your perspective of it, or to think like outside their own little box. I mean, honestly, I think that if you can't get them to do it with the Socratic method of just, kind of asking questions and getting them to try to explain themselves better, I think that you're not really going to have a lot of success with it in general. So that's why in like all of my videos where I'm confronting like whether it's creationists or flat earthers, whenever I confront them, I try to ask them questions and try to let them know, like, okay, well, I'm not convinced by this because of this reason. Like, it doesn't explain this or it doesn't explain that.
Right.
I try to explain to them why it's not convincing to me and why it doesn't actually explain it. But I mean, if they end up just saying like, oh, well, you just don't want to believe, or you're twisting reality because it doesn't match what I want you to say, then there's nothing that you can really honestly do, at least in my opinion. Like, at that point, you might as well just, leave the conversation, because you're not going to be able to get anything really done with them. Like, you're not going to have a productive conversation.
Here's my thing though, like I get that from a one-on-one perspective. If it's just you and me in a conversation, I'm able to probe enough with you that I can say, okay, why did you come to that conclusion? Let's explore that more. Could you maybe have looked at this? But I mean, you guys have a larger platform. And what I'm struggling with, I guess, more is, how can you create a communication strategy that helps to educate people into
Hello.
having a broader perspective, so that they'll look at all of those angles? Like, how can you have the equivalent of that one-on-one Socratic discussion with a huge group of people when it's a one-way conversation? That's what I'm struggling with, is trying to find a way for that to be effective.
Well, I'll let somebody else go here in just a second, I promise. But
No, keep going.
really,
it's good.
Well, I really think that in that situation, like as far as like a content strategy or whatnot goes to appeal to people, I think that everybody, is attracted to different, forms of it. Like, obviously a flat earther's not going to come to my video about, how ridiculous the flat earth theory is and take me seriously. And whereas, I honestly don't think that any flat earther comes to an anti-flat earth video in like good spirits. There are some people out there that like don't know how to argue against certain facets of it. And so like that's where I try to add in the few nuggets that are meant for the people that are there to not only laugh at flat earth people, but to, be able to respond to them with some information that's good. And that's what I usually try to do in my stuff. Sometimes it doesn't always work out, obviously, but like, to get the attention of these people, I think that they first have to be open to it. And that's the problem, is that they're the only ones that can open up themselves to having their minds changed. Right. And so I think that any content strategy needs to be focused not on trying to make them open themselves up to changing their minds, but like whenever they start changing their minds, then they watch your stuff and they see why, okay, that's wrong because of this. Like, I think that that's a pretty good content strategy. And like Godless Cranium and Paulogia, they have really good content strategy for people that to attract people that not necessarily are questioning, but could potentially question, but they're still pretty cognitive distanced up,
I'm
My
gonna get
content-
That's the problem, though.
cognitive dissonance up. I'm gonna get.
That needs to be in the DSM, I think.
It's a
That's
technical
the
term.
problem, though. Are they actually curious about what's true or not, or are they just wanting to take a position for the sake of taking a position that's, I don't know,
Well,
open
Paul can
themselves up
speak
to
to that.
criticism?
Paul's literally asked people, "Do you care about what's true?" And they've
Yeah,
said,
what do they say?
"No, no."
Some of them say no,
Wow.
straight up. Just they don't
Yeah,
care.
where do you go from there? I mean, if somebody actually says, you know what,
Yeah.
I don't care what's true, my belief in whatever the earth and universe doesn't matter. That's the only thing that matters. At that point, I don't really think you can even have a conversation, or why would you want to?
Well, then I'm done. But 3 months ago, one of my younger cousins posted a review of a young Earth creation textbook for homeschooling, a glowing review of it on Facebook, and I just started saying, well, I would love to read this book along with you and have some discussions about it. Are you willing to talk to me about it? And in the last 3 months, I've pretty much converted them to theistic evolutionists.
That's awesome.
By having them so they're never leaving their faith, but as people who are going to homeschool their children, I was able to actually, through my videos, to some extent, to let them evaluate. I think my channel in a way is non-threatening enough that people who are even slightly open, and these people weren't, can get there. So anyway,
I agree.
I'm deconverting. I'm not deconverting from faith, but from a young Earth all over.
Everybody has a different role to play in the whole skeptic type community stuff. And by the way, Max and his did a super chat for $5. So I am obligated to read it out, and I appreciate it. If he says, if a loved one or someone you know suffers from being an idiot flat earther, I'm sorry, there is no hope. And I kind of see that sentiment and that mindset. However, we have seen people leave these types of things. I've had somebody in this very room, Jamal Williams, leave flat earth. We've had people leave young earth creations like Wayne Fillmore, Hunter Bailey, and a few others. So it can happen, but it's far and few between. But I think the approach you take, Paul, is one of the best, because you're right. You're non-aggressively just putting out the information, and anybody who comes in with a mindset, do they want to know the truth? And like that thing with the book, that's an awesome thing, right? That's them saying, okay, I want to teach my children. I want to teach them things that are correct. And if you can convince them to switch to theistic evolution, then as far as I'm concerned, the battle's over, right? But I mean, other people like to go see further. I'm okay with that as well, right? If you want to take them down to pure, skeptic, to the more materialistic or naturalistic, especially ontological naturalism, I'm okay with that as well. But at that point, they're no longer teaching their children bad science, because I think that hobbles people as they grow. I've seen it. I've literally seen it firsthand, that as people get older, when they have such gross misconceptions, they don't do well in science. I have a few people right now that I've known for like 3 or 4 years. They started off in like, they were in like 9th or 10th grade. They're now getting ready to go to college, and I don't think they have the preparatory material, knowledge, material knowledge to go ahead and do well in college. Now, I'm hoping I'm wrong, but I've watched them and I've listened to them, and this is all has nothing to do with our community or anything like that. But I've seen it. I've literally seen it, and it's a shame, because they hold to that flat earth, or they hold to that young earth. These are young earthers specifically, and you don't know any of them, so they're not part of the GDC or anything.
I don't think you should give up on people just because they believe something that you can't understand or recognize. I don't think you should. I think people can change their mind. People are capable of a lot.
Okay. Can I say this real quick? I agree with you to an extent. I think, though, the problem is that you only have so much time, and there's only so much focus you can give to people.
Right.
And there are people that we know that have these intelligent design hangouts and promoting young earth creationism.
Right.
They've been doing this for years on YouTube. There's only so much time that I'm even willing to dedicate to try to just show why they're wrong anymore, because people know they're wrong. The people that already believe them, they're not going to really kind of change their position. But I'd rather go after the people directly and talk to them than talk to the people putting out this information. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, no, it does make sense. And I'm not suggesting that anybody dedicate all their time to one specific person to change their mind. I don't think that you should write anybody off. I don't think that you should ever ruin relationships because you can't reconcile yourself with somebody else's belief structure.
Well, any flat earther come in here, any young
because
earther,
like
they
I
all
mean,
know
look
they
at
come
Paul.
in here.
Paul was a young Earth creationist, and I think he's pretty cool. Okay.
He's okay.
I like him a little.
Sure,
sometimes.
but as
and
we
he
talked
was,
about
and he
before,
was able to come out of it.
And I'm
Like-
sorry, where did you guys meet again? Where did you guys meet again?
Oh, on the Great Debate Community.
I'm sorry, you can say that one more time for those who didn't hear.
On the Great Debate Community.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Blame-
so
blame-
it's
blame
your
me
fault
for
that I'm
sideways.
involved with all this foolishness. You did this to everybody. So
You snatched Paul up like that. Are you kidding?
oh, I wasted no time whatsoever. Are you
I
kidding
saw,
me?
I was
Look
like-
at him. Look how cute he is.
Yeah. He's
Well,
adorable. You got the Sith
know
thing
what-
going on too.
go ahead, John.
Well,
Sorry,
I was
John.
gonna say what I know I said earlier that like you might as well just go ahead and give up at that point. Like whenever, like if they've literally said that, well, I'm pretty much sticking with what I believe, whether I can explain it or not. I didn't mean that you should give up on them like entirely. I think that for that conversation, you might as well give up. But I think that you should always be persistently like that voice in the fog. In case they ever start questioning, they know that they can come to you and talk to you about it, kind of thing. And that's like on a more one-on-one personal sort of level. And I think that you should always kind of keep those lines of communication open, and you should always be approachable in that way. That's why that's also why I do the interview stuff like I do. Like I make sure that people see how me actually talking to religious people versus me playing a video and laughing at it.
Right.
Yeah, but you're
Yeah.
also willing to go into other like you're not the kind of person to say in your safe space, right? We do know people that
Right.
they're so unwilling to leave their safe space. I can think of at least 5 or 6 off the top of my head. You do not see them going to other places and being challenged in their beliefs. It doesn't happen, right? Because they wanted to be able to have that mod control. They want to have that ability to hide. They want to be able to have that ability to talk over. And it's notable. It's been that way for several years with some of them. And you see that people don't really want to watch any of that stuff anymore. Do you really want to see somebody sitting on a couch strumming away on a guitar talking about bacteria flagella for
Who
a
are you
year?
talking about, Steve?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just picking up random people here. I mean, seriously, it's gotten to the point. It's just comical. It's just, I don't know why anybody would bother. Now, I'm not saying, don't want to do what the hell you want, but I have no interest in that. It just does not do a damn thing for me anymore. I watched a part of one of those hangouts today and I'm like, what the hell is this? This is just the same old diatribe we've heard before. There's nothing new here. How many times can you say ATP synthase? It didn't help your argument before. It doesn't help your argument now.
But if I look at the example, like my kids, who I do my channel for, who are all young Earth creationists, who won't talk to me about it because they don't, like Dad's going to hell, and they don't, that's just not something they're comfortable talking to me about. I can still talk to them about pseudoscience and homeopathy or anything, and when I can point out the communication strategies, which is what we started talking about, which is like, oh, look, it's something you can always do. It's the outsider test, right? It's like, well, we don't believe in homeopathy, and let's look at the way they communicate. And hopefully, if I can help them be skeptical on one front, and hopefully that's true for anyone, if you can help them to be skeptical on one front, sometimes they can transfer those skills over to some of those other core beliefs as well. So, I mean, the topic of, the hangout in terms of just identifying strategies is probably a good one that one can play for hostile people if you can move them into another arena.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. And by the way, I really, if you can arrange this at some point, I've talked kind of a little about before, but I would love to have a hangout on homeopathy with GMS, of genetically modified skeptic. I think that'd be very interesting. I know he's quite knowledgeable about it, and you know a lot about it too.
I'm sure he'd love to.
Yeah, I have no
would.
idea, but it's just scheduling stuff. But yeah, so if you can try to help along, facilitate that'd be great, because I think that'd be very interesting. I kind of not really a personal invested thing on that, however, because I don't really have much to do with my sister at all, but she is somewhat into homeopathy. She doesn't realize it though. She's one of those people that doesn't understand homeopathy as BS, but she doesn't know anything about it. She just says, oh, this is a natural remedy, right? And when my daughter was growing up, she would buy like natural cough stuff, and it's not to do any harm, right? And some other stuff, but it's all like, oh, it's 40 times diluted, 120 times diluted. And I was trying to explain to her back then when I actually spoke with her, this is just marketing. There's nothing to this. It doesn't do anything to alleviate anything. It's pure crap, right? Spend the money on something that'll actually work. And she didn't actually understand that. Now, she doesn't understand the things with concentrations, dilutions, or, the whole how water has memory, knows nothing about any of that stuff. Just deal with that. But she's one of those average people that just says, oh, look, this is homeopathic, therefore it's natural, therefore it's not artificial, blah, blah, blah. And I think that needs to be addressed in the homeopathic. When you talk about homeopathy, that's something that we kind of glaze over, right? That people don't realize that people are buying this stuff because they think it works, not that they're into it. Does that make sense?
I got caught this year, actually. Oh, sorry, last year. My magnesium levels were low. And I just walked into a chemist and said, oh, can I have some magnesium tablets? And he pointed me over to the thing. And I just picked up the cheapest one. And it turned out to be homeopathic. And I didn't realize for a couple of weeks. And I had like 4 blood tests in that period. And finally realized that, my magnesium, because this thing has no fucking magnesium in it.
Wow.
Well, the reason homeopathy works well with my kids is there's a couple in my town who were actually convicted of negligent death of their child because that was the only method of curing. I forget what the disease the kid had, but they were only using homeopathy.
Was it meningitis? I think.
It was
that might be
meningitis.
right. Yeah. Anyway,
well,
so because that's in my town, it was on the news a lot, so I could actually help my kids. It's like, look, that's going on, and here's the rationale they use. So, but it's dangerous. I mean, it's not nothing.
Yeah, I know it is dangerous, and you're right. And I definitely need to take that into account. But they were just ignorant. Well, I don't know. Do you think they were? Obviously, I do think they were negligent, no question. But do you think they had the mindset that homeopathy worked, or they just were trying natural remedies?
They must have. You get like when you're dealing with your child. I guess I've got a 6-year-old, so as a mom, you would have to, legitimately believe that that's going to work in order to negate any other options and not give your child a chance. Like you'd have to.
I agree.
You'd have to.
And it's so preventable too. That was completely preventable. So yeah, John, go ahead.
John,
Well, I was just sorry. I was just going to say that if I'm remembering the case correctly, they own a homeopathic business, and so they were treating them according to their own homeopathic doctrine almost. And so if memory serves, if it's the same couple, I mean they're out doing the same thing again.
There's more than one case actually. Yeah, they continued. Yeah.
Wow.
They were. I don't bring this up with my kids, but they were mixing it with prayer in their defense.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And they're okay. All right. Okay. Sure.
Yeah. See, I'm one of those people that I mean, I have seen or looked at the studies that they show that prayer kind of has a negative effect. I don't really buy into that, but I think it has no effect. But if they do that, it can, in addition to actually get them medical treatment, more power to them. But if a person just uses prayer to try to cure something like that, I find that to be negligent, and I think that should be actually prosecuted. And that has nothing to do with them having religious freedom or anything else. That is negligence. I'm sorry. It is.
Yeah. If you know medical intervention is going to save the life of your child and you choose not to seek it because you would rather just let God take over.
Well, that's the question. What happens if Tommy Hall's kids get cancer?
Who's Tommy?
He's, you know what? I'll tell you right now. I have almost no doubt he'll take them to go get whatever treatment the doctors tell him that. I'd like to believe that.
Well,
I could be wrong, but I would like to believe that.
No, not necessarily. There is a popular. There's a story. Well, it's a popular story, but a girl. They were trying to force a girl to get chemotherapy or something like that, and she was just wanting to do prayer and all this other stuff, and she ended up dying of whatever cancer she had. I know there was a story about it. People were wanting to force her to get chemical or chemo in order to save her, but she was like, I'm sticking with prayer. So, I mean, there are people out there that in the face of actual medicine will disregard it and,
Right. No, absolutely. I'm just thinking with Tommy Hall, because it was specifically directed to Tommy Hall, I think that he would, at that point, do whatever the doctor said. I don't think Tommy's a bad guy. And I think that if when it came down to brass tacks, that he to do something for his children, I think it would go beyond his belief system, and I think he'd be like, you know what, I want my children to live. Let's listen to the doctors.
Remind me what Tommy's claim was. I forget.
Tommy's claims were many, but one of the strangest ones is that tumors actually absorb
toxins.
Right. Toxins that are good for you. So
right, that's what I should have told my docs. That would have been. It's just a big detox.
Yeah, I mean, it's no big secret.
No need to biopsy.
I'm very happy. I mean, it's actually, amazing. We have 2 cancer survivors in here, and probably neither one of them would be around if they had listened to the advice given by Tommy Halls of the world. I mean, let's say it like it is.
Yeah, I would certainly be dead. Certainly.
Oh, you had cancer too, Rohith?
Yeah, I had leukemia September 16.
Holy smokes!
Yeah.
Wow, you're okay now?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, he was like a cyborg. He had tubes coming out of him everywhere. It was transhumanism. Yeah, he was. Yeah, I'm seeing.
Did Paul ever tell you how lucky he was that he had a vestigial tendon?
Yeah.
That's the only reason he's able to move his hand.
I think I read.
Thank God for evolution failing, I guess.
Yeah. I read a few posts on his blog about how he got like a tendon from his leg or something. Is that right? You put it in your hand.
Well, I had extra tendons in my hand.
Thank God.
So even though I lost some of my tendons to cancer, they just moved some other ones over.
And was that to a mutation?
Yeah.
I wonder how that.
I had to. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All I was going to say is I had to retrain my brain. I couldn't do this for the longest time because my brain was firing to the wrong tendons at this.
So you had to get new neurological pathways.
Yep. But after 2 years, I can type and all that good stuff.
Well, we had somebody in our community one time that had a mutation with their heart, some kind of blood vessel or something that went to their heart, and the doctors had told them you hadn't had that, you would have died during a heart attack. So mutations, they do exist, people. It is evolution. Hello.
My family says thank God for that. So
they think, well, okay. It's when somebody says, "Look, thank God for evolution." No,
they mean
they don't mean it that way.
Foresaw that I was going to have the bad cancer that was caused from my atheism.
I have a cousin right now who has cancer, and I made this very public. I haven't seen her in years, but we talk very so often on Facebook. And one of the things she had put up was like, thank you, Jesus, for the test results for the lung cancer to be negative. However, the kidney or something else probably has to be removed, blah, blah. Thank Jesus. And of course, I'm not saying anything to her. I'm not trying to at all, put something on her going, well, why did Jesus give you cancer in the first place kind of thing? I'm not a dick, right? But I did think to myself, you got cancer and you're praising God because it didn't go to your lungs, but it went to other places it metastasized to, that you have to have surgery. I mean, so you're praising that he only let you have a certain amount of cancer? Or, I mean, it was just kind of confusing to me. I understand it, right? But I don't. Does that make me to be a dick?
Yeah, it could be worse. Thank God it's
Is that one of those half empty, half full kinds of things? Thank you, God.
Yeah, it's an optimistic prayer.
I guess to each his own on that. I don't look at it that way, though.
My own personal story. My dad, he posted on Facebook asking for prayers because of his heart, because he was going to get a double bypass. Luckily, though, God was showing him favor that day and decided to give him a quadruple bypass instead of just the double. So I mean, it's kind of like, you don't always get what you want. Hey, clear up my heart. I'll make your heart a bit more fucked up there, John. my dad's name is John as well.
Everybody say hi to Heretic Woman. She decided to drop in.
Hey,
we're gonna have some other, people dropping by. We do this.
Yeah, I was just reading an article in the CBC News about a woman whose daughter had been in like a vegetative state for the last 20 years. And she thinks that the woman communicated to her the other day. So she's all praising Jesus for that. And I'm like, yeah, but the 20 years, I don't know. Could have done that a little better. Oh, hi, John.
Hey.
I don't know if you remember, we met in Milwaukee.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Okay, cool.
We guys
How you doing?
Wait, were you guys at Methodist Milwaukee?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, I did know that. I did get, yeah, you know what? You did tell me something along those lines. You know.
I did tell you. But that's okay. That was like what, 3 months ago? Who remembers?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all blends together. I mean, anything beyond yesterday, I try I have to write down stuff from now on. It's gonna take notes the next year going forward, so I can say, oh yeah, such and such, reminded me of this.
Yep. That's all right.
So this original hangout, I mean, we were talking about pseudo communication strategies, and it's twofold. I mean, I kind of should have put that at the beginning. I was taking it more the communication strategies that they use, right? How they promote their pseudoscience, and you guys are making it more of how do we communicate with them. And I think actually you could take it either way, and it should be taken either way. So going to the second way of looking at it, how do we communicate with these people? How do we go about talking to them? I think you guys have a lot of good ideas on it, but as a community, as the Great Debate community, and as on my channel, on your guys' channels, on John's and Paulogia, you don't really have open hangouts, but you have videos, and on Heretics channel, Atheists Beyond the Atheists Beyond the Trailer Park. Never gonna ever get that straight.
Oh, that's a good name.
Thank you.
Atheists Beyond the Trailer Park. It sounds kind of like white trash to me.
Maybe that's why I like it so much. It's a good
Spin-off.
name.
We're a spin-off from a show that kind of was white trash, which was Atheists on Air.
Yeah, that goes back. I remember that too. So how do you guys want? I mean, how are you guys going to do this on your channels? To when you have somebody that comes in, like for example, I was thinking about inviting Mr. Intelligent ID in, and I know that would totally change the dynamic of this hangout. Not gonna front, but Shannon, you wanted to know about
someone
this
who's
guy.
going to completely disagree with everything that I'm saying because you know how much I like
Yeah.
No, Shannon. He's someone. If you said the sky is blue, he will say bananas are round.
He'll say I farted on the couch.
No, but I love talking to people that like, but it's easier one-on-one than it is in a large group because I don't like pylons. I don't like.
I will tell you right
pylons.
now. And by the way, people have figured out by now I call everybody a dude. It's not a gender thing. I'll tell you what. I will give you 20 minutes per se.
One-on-one.
You one-on-one. And all we can do is laugh. That's all. I mean, we won't say a word.
Okay.
But we will laugh.
The guy that just said that we were like materialist retards or something. Or is that a different
Did he?
guy? No, I think that might be a different guy.
No, I don't think so.
He for like a second.
I'll fill you in on Mr. ID.
No, that was Seamus. No. Okay.
Oh yeah, Seamus is trying to bait people on the whole natural.
Like, what is he gonna? Oh, I can't wait. Let's do it. Let's do it right now. I don't even care. Bring him in.
Yeah.
Let's everybody. I want to talk to him one-on-one though.
I'll
don't pile on him. Just the two of us get.
If I can get him in here, he was timed out, so I don't know. But yeah, Seamus is just trying to bait people. He's just like natural selection doesn't work, or atheism is
I love that.
Wrong. Is all he's doing is trying to bait. He wants to get people to talk over on Discord.
Oh, good.
By all means, have at it, Seamus. Don't time Seamus out. Let him give it a shot. Go for it.
All right, Steve, I'm going to answer.
I'm
going to try and answer your question.
Yeah.
About how to communicate. I think the main thing we need to always do, because the thing I want to call pseudoscience out on is being dishonest. So I don't care if the method is mockery, which I think has a place, like not like what GE does. Like I felt like me coming out, mockery was part of it. Being really gentle, being Socratic, all those things, but we can never ever we actually have to avoid the appearance of evil, which is what the Christians say they want to do, but we can't fall into the same trap where we are quote mining or where we are misrepresenting credentials or we are doing anything like that. We have to like just beyond. I forget what Shannon called me out on today. Something like it was just like we cannot even walk down the. I wanted to do a dishonest edit. That's right.
You did.
But it was, in fairness, it would have been. I would have called out the dishonest edit, but we can't even go down that path because then you've sunk to the same.
Yes.
Then you can be dismissed equally. So it's like, well, you're both being hypocrites.
You can't succumb to the same tactics that you're criticizing others for enacting. You can't say you're dishonest. You can't point to somebody and say you're dishonest and you're misrepresenting facts And that if you're going to do that, and everybody should do that, you have to stand on the higher ground. You have to, or you open yourself up for them to say, well, you do it too. And then the discussion stops. It's done.
Like
It's
I've seen
done
both.
because you no longer have what you say no longer has any merit. You have to take the higher ground.
I've seen both GE and Heretic, lay into people and call them idiots. But I've never seen any of them. But I've never seen any of them, and which is totally valid and fine. But I've never seen them misuse a fact.
No, like I've actually been restraining my outbursts of late because
really awesome.
I it's hard, let me tell you, but I do tailor things to the person that I'm talking to. So if I get somebody who comes at me with like stupid fucking atheist, blah, 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 then I'm probably gonna say something before too long. But if I get somebody they're respectful, even though they're being an idiot, then I'll try not to call them an idiot for as long as humanly possible.
Yeah, and I'll tell you that, and that if you can do it, anybody can, because you were more volatile than I am. But
yeah,
but I made the same New Year's resolutions. I wanted to get away from that type of style. I think we all kind of have to reinvent ourselves a little bit in every year and do something different. And so I even been telling people, like, I'm going to eliminate the word like liar out of my vocabulary. I think it has too many different connotations. It can mean different things to different people, and we all kind of use the word differently. And so I don't want really that in-your-face approach for my thing. Now, other people, of course, I think Paul put it very well. There is some mockery to be had. Let's not kid ourselves. And I think mockery in some ways to some of these people is not only effective, it shows people, do you really want to be dumb like this guy? Do you really want to think the earth is flat? I mean, let's think ahead on this. Okay. So yeah, I find that mockery is fine, but there's a way to do it that's entertaining, comical, informative. And as you guys have pointed out, don't go down to their level. Don't use misinformation. Always never misrepresent your opponent, especially younger Christians or flat earther. Just don't do it.
It's important too that if you do screw up and they catch you, and it's a legitimate, maybe you grabbed a source that you thought was okay, and then they come back and show you that it's skewed or something. You gotta own it and say,
yeah, and that's fine. Exactly.
I fucked up. Yep, I was wrong. Okay, that's a bad source.
You'll never find a young earther or pseudoscience person do that.
Yeah.
When have you ever seen a pseudoscience person ever do something along those lines?
Never.
Yeah, because they think it makes them look weak. I think it makes somebody look the opposite. If you say, look, I misrepresented, your thing on the age of the earth. You said, that such and such said this, and you were putting forth this, and you know what? I was wrong on it. Let's actually look at what actually the facts are from the textbook or whatever, and say, okay, how do we want to go about this? Because I've never, like with Ken Hovind, it's like that. I know exactly what he says. I have his slides somewhere, and I know I'm not misrepresenting him when I say, Ken Hovind has this. So that's, I think, the approach we need to do. We need to make sure that, like Paul said, that we're not doing things that they can even look at and going, oh, you're misrepresenting me, because it never gets you anywhere. It's easy to fight a straw man, right? An effigy, and it's so much information, against things like young Earth creationism and flat Earth and pseudoscience of all kinds. Especially, I love the thing that Holy Kool-Aid's been doing with the psychic things.
Oh yeah, those are awesome.
Love it. And so there's so much evidence that we could use against all this stuff. Why even have the chance of having a non sequitur or a fallacy to use against them, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you guys watched that, by the way?
Yes, I love it.
Isn't it great?
Well, I would love to sit down and talk to him about it, because I remember I used to be a ghost hunter.
I know.
So I've got some stuff I could talk to him about.
We're gonna have a special show on that, but that's gonna be on the podcast coming up. But it probably won't be in March.
Cool.
We're booked. We might have to do 2 shows a week, but I think it's gonna be too difficult to do so. But we already booked till March. I mean, we've got, and even then we've got like 10 names on the list that we're thinking. So
I already do 2 shows a week, dude.
The guy's here.
Yes. Yes, Shannon, your friend.
Yeah.
I've never met him before in my life or interacted with him.
Okay, just remember, this is an easy day to remember because it's the first of the year, right? So from the rest of your year and probably the rest of your life, this is the moment you're not going to forget.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. You have a lot to live up to, Mr. Intelligent Design.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
So, Mr.
Okay.
ID, how are you? First of all, Happy New Year.
I guess
If
he
you're
doesn't want to
speaking, we
talk.
cannot hear you.
Yeah.
But you know what? I can tell you what. This is the most amount I've ever heard you made sense.
Hello.
Oh,
Good
There we go.
afternoon.
There we go.
Yay! All right, guys.
There we
Let's let you know we're like a little over more than an hour in. The whole dynamic of this topic has been changed. I hope, Paul, is that okay with you?
Yeah, I'm just gonna check out now. I'll stay here, but I'm yeah.
Fair enough. But you know what? This is okay. There's two parts to this hangout. There's theory and there's practice. So the first part, we're talking about theory on the pseudo communication strategies. Now we're going to put it into practice. Can Shannon do it? Can she? I no offense, and I again, I'm trying to minimize these words like idiot and stuff like that. But in this, the last time I want to use it this year, hopefully, she is the
Don't call me
idiot whisperer.
idiots.
So I'm gonna try to avoid
Don't be
that
mean to
word.
him.
But
I'm
but
really
I,
good at
Mr.
it.
ID understands. It's not a pejorative because trust me, Mr. ID kind of knows.
Why?
Well, it is a pejorative,
Is
but
Mr. ID a young Earth creationist? Is he like why?
he is everything. I think at this
all
point.
the things? Okay. Well,
Yeah, we go
hold
way
on.
Stay, John,
back.
stay, John. Go ahead.
Well,
Yeah,
I was
sorry.
gonna say I've got to bow out, but
Oh, it's late for you too, huh?
Thanks for coming on, man.
Well, thanks for inviting me on. It was great seeing everybody, Heretic Woman,
Yeah.
and Paul, and I'm not sure.
Ruhif?
Ruhif, no, what?
Ruhif. Oh,
Ruhif.
God. I think it's Ruhif.
Roof.
Shannon, Steve, everybody, thanks for inviting me on. I'll see you guys later, though. Okay.
All right,
Thanks,
thank
John.
you, John. Thanks for stopping
Good
by.
night,
This is
John.
great. Appreciate it.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
All right, so I'm gonna give you guys, 15, 20 minutes. Mr. ID, go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit. I think everybody else just kind of mute, and we're just gonna go along for the ride. Is everybody cool with that? The audience is going nuts here. They want this.
Okay. Hi. Hi, Mr. Intelligent Design. You haven't said anything yet, and I've never been in.
Oh,
I've never
okay.
encountered you. It's nice to meet you.
Meet you. Sorry, I cannot show you my videos, but thank you, Steve, for inviting me here in this hangout. And the reason why I'm persistent discoveries in the world because I think I have the best discoveries,
Yes.
like Einstein, something like that. I discovered the real intelligence. I mean, discovered the real intelligence.
Your
State
sound
any
is kind of,
X.
okay. Your sound is cutting out a little bit. Did you
Okay.
just say that you've made discoveries like Einstein?
No, I mean I discovered intelligence, and Einstein discovered many things about space, about gravity, about general relativity, and his discovery impact the world, especially in
Okay.
science.
Right. Yeah.
So
No, I understand that.
we all know that. But my discovery about intelligence also, if we are going to apply that in reality and in science,
So you
the way we
discovered a
see
scientific way of quantifying intelligence? What do you mean that you discovered intelligence?
both quantifying, describing,
Describing intelligence.
explaining, and when you say intelligence, meaning intelligence is a principle. If you are going to apply that to science, we can use that in science.
If you can apply intelligence to science, well,
Yeah,
hopefully.
to classify all. To classify all things, we can classify.
Right.
We can classify particles. We can classify universe. We can classify computers,
Right.
mountains. We can classify action. We can classify thought. Everything through intelligence.
Yes.
By using
Okay.
that classification through intelligence, we can explain reality better.
So, okay, let
than-
me stop you for a second. So essentially what you're saying is you can explain reality better if you're intelligent?
what
that
I've
what you're saying?
said, what I said is that until now, until I discovered intelligence,
You discover.
our science,
My brain is just about to explode. Did you just say you discovered intelligence? Like you discovered the concept of intelligence?
the principle, yes,
So you discovered the concept of intelligence.
about intelligence, yes.
I don't think you did, and here's why. Because I'm not certain how old you are. How old are you?
2
2.
this year, 5'2",
52. Okay,
52
perfect.
years.
Okay,
Yes.
so that the word intelligence and the concept of intelligence predates you. So
This the
have you found out something about intelligence that nobody else has ever found out before? Have you found a way to
yes,
quantify it?
yes.
So you found a way,
Yes,
aside from like, so you've heard of Wechsler and the Sanford Binet before, right? So you understand that there's already pre-existing tests for measuring intellectual quotients. And I mean, as
yes,
they're tentative and there's debate whether or not those types of tests are an adequate measure of
Yes.
intelligence. But intelligence they've already attempted to quantify intelligence. And
You're
also
wrong.
intelligence, I don't 100% disagree with you on that, because intelligence exists on a spectrum as well. Like what type of intelligence? There's multiple types of intelligences. So
Yeah,
could you be a little more specific? Because right now you're just making a bunch of broad claims about the fact that you've made a discovery about intelligence, but I haven't heard what it is yet. So could you be concise? Could you be concise? Please be concise. I want
Please,
to be concise.
to be specific, we have 70 types of intelligence today.
70
And
types
our
of intelligence?
IQ definitions.
70 definitions of intelligence.
We have.
And you're
until
basing
now.
that on what? What are you basing the like? Where did you uncover that there was 70 definitions specifically?
If there was a research, there was 2 persons who researched that definition of intelligence, and actually I contacted them when I wrote
Who
my
are
science
they?
book.
Who are they? Who were the 2 people?
They are Hatter and Marcus Hatter and Shane Legg.
Shane Legg and okay.
And Marcus Hatter. You can see and you can read their free stuff in archive.org.
Okay. And where did
Because,
they do their research?
They were the one who were studying specifically. They're
Where?
studying intelligence. Where?
Yes. At what accredited institution did these people that you contacted that told you that there was specifically 70 types of intelligence do their research?
Yeah, they were the one who researched the definition of intelligence, because they were the one who are studying what is intelligence.
Yes, they were the ones that you contacted that were studying intelligence. And where? At what accredited institution did those 2 people who were the ones that were doing the study?
I'm sorry, I forgot. But they published
You
their
forgot
work.
so you uncovered intelligence by contacting. You uncovered something brand new about intelligence based on the fact that you contacted 2 people that were experts on intelligence, and you're now proposing that you are an expert on intelligence, and you can't even tell me the name of the institution where they were doing the research that you're basing your entire construct on?
No, wait, you didn't get me. What I said is that what I said is that when I wrote my science book about my new discovery of intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
to include also the old definition of intelligence to my science book.
Right.
I contacted them so that I could ask permission to them to use their definition in my science book, and they said yes.
Okay, well, that might the whole rabbit hole that we just went down was due to a question that I asked you, and the question that I asked you was, where did you come up with the fact that there were 70 definitions of intelligence? And you said that you reached out to these 2 people and they were the ones who did the initial research. And then I asked you where they did their research and what accredited institution it was. And you said you couldn't remember what accredited institution it was. And then you said, and actually, what I was saying was I asked them if I could cite them in my book. So we're back to the original question. We went down a rabbit hole, but we're still at the original question that I'm going to ask you to answer as concisely as possible. Where did you come up with the idea, and what research was conducted, and why do you believe that there were 70 different definitions of intelligence? And if you could please answer concisely, I would appreciate it.
And first, you have two questions. Okay, one is why do I know that there are 72 definitions of intelligence? Because if the answer is that when in the research publication, when they published that in archive.org, I counted all their definitions.
Whose definitions?
From 1 to the research definition, the 2 from Marcus Hatter and Shane Legg.
Okay.
They had come up with 72 definition.
Okay.
But I believe we have they miss some other definition. Probably we have 80 definitions of intelligence until I discovered it.
You did what?
So,
I still don't understand. What exactly is it that you discovered?
I discovered about the real intelligence, because what they had shown, what they had researched actually is not the actual intelligence, but the actual explanation of a natural phenomenon, non-intelligence. Okay, I repeat. Okay, I repeat. I will repeat.
Yes, absolutely. Please repeat it.
Okay, the 72 definitions or 80 definitions that we have from the time we know about science. We have almost 80 definitions of intelligence, and all of them are talking to one single natural phenomenon and not the actual intelligence.
Okay, so let me make sure that I'm understanding what you're saying. So you're saying,
yes,
I'll grant you all this so that we can move on the conversation. So you're saying all science up until now, up until you, has espoused to the fact that there's upwards of 70 different types of intelligence, and those 70 different types of intelligence that were classified are just explaining a natural phenomena, and that's not real intelligence. What you've discovered is real intelligence.
Correct.
And the rest of that
exactly correct.
This entire conversation we've had up to this point can essentially be thrown out then, because none of that matters, because that's not real intelligence, right?
Which one? Mine or
the entire conversation that we have been having about the 70 types of intelligence and where they came from, it doesn't matter anyway, because what you're saying, if I'm granting you that, is that you've uncovered real intelligence, and none of that's real intelligence, right?
I discovered the real intelligence, and those are not intelligence, just part of natural phenomenon.
Right. Okay, so we can just ignore them because they're not part of intelligence, right?
Okay.
Okay, so we don't have to reference them again and go down that rabbit hole. So we've just established that they don't matter because they're not real intelligence. What you've discovered is real intelligence. So here we are. I'm ready.
Okay.
What's real intelligence? Blow my mind.
Okay, the real intelligence, it is a principle used by an intelligent agent. I repeat. Okay. Intelligence is not a food. It is not a hamburger. It is not a hamburger. It is not a computer. It is not emotion. It is not science. I'm sorry. It is not a religion, but a principle used by an agent, or we call it intelligent agent.
Okay, but you just used your okay. So intelligence is a principle used by an intelligent agent. That's your definition of intelligence?
No, I'm just saying. I'm just telling you. You asked me.
But the person enacting.
I can get. Are you asking my definition of intelligence?
I'm asking what your big discovery was, because you said you discovered real
Okay,
intelligence.
okay, yeah. So I'm going to make it short for you. Okay, I'm going to make it as simple as short. Intelligence, in my discovery, is simply problem, solution, solution. When you have one problem, you must have at least two or more solutions.
Why do you have to have two or more solutions to one problem? What if one?
Okay,
solution-
wait. I'm going to wait to you again the non-intelligence so that you could see the difference. Okay.
Okay.
I have to show you both so that you know what are you going to. Intelligence is problem, solution, solution.
Okay.
The non-intelligence, or I call it natural phenomenon, or I call it the 80 definition of intelligence that we have, is I call.
Sorry, can you
So
repeat that? Because you cut out the
okay,
you call it
I
what?
will repeat it. I will repeat it again.
Mm-hmm.
Intelligence is when an agent use the principle of problem, solution, solution.
Yes, intelligence is two solutions. Carry on. Yeah, I got that.
Two solutions or more.
Or more.
But
yeah.
there's still
one
there's
problem.
element. Okay.
Okay.
Non-intelligence is always problem, solution. That's why when I will give an example. When your boss asks you to bring you a coffee,
Okay.
a cup of coffee,
Right.
a non-intelligence person will just bring a coffee.
Mm-hmm.
But an intelligence person who will go into intelligence will going to use problem, solution, solution. He will going to bring a coffee, and he will also bring maybe a spoon, tablespoon to mix the coffee.
Or they would have
Or
mixed the
maybe a
coffee
tissue
before they
paper.
brought it because that's bananas. Why
Or
wouldn't you?
something
That would have
like
been
that.
real intelligence is to not
Yeah, you're right. They are doing the two
mix the
events
coffee
in one
before
event.
you bring it, so that the person that you're
Right.
bringing the coffee for, if you're, because it sounds like foresight that benefits you is intelligence based on your definition. So
Yeah.
it would be
That
intelligent
that
for
that,
you
that
to bring. Oh, let me finish for 1 sec. So I just want to make sure I'm understanding. So the reason that you're using that analogy, I think, is because I get what you mean by problem, solution now. So a basic intelligence would be my boss asks for a coffee, I bring my boss a coffee. A problem, boss wants coffee, solution, here boss, here's some coffee. A higher order intelligence, you would have the foresight to think to yourself, I can benefit from this situation if I position myself correctly. So not only will I bring my boss a coffee, I'll also bring my boss a muffin from the cafeteria or whatever, or that paperwork I knew that they wanted by the end of the day, something above what they asked for, to ingratiate yourself to that person because that person is in a position to benefit you potentially in the future. Is that what you're suggesting in this scenario? Intelligence is going above the minimum requirement so that you can have a positive outcome later on. So, but that level of intelligence has only to do with individual interactions, and that level of intelligence also could be interpreted as potential manipulation and sociopathy on certain levels, depending on how far you take it. So how does that extrapolate out? And also, you could have the foresight to do something like that. So you could have the foresight to say, okay, my boss wants a coffee. I want to ingratiate myself to my boss. I'm going to bring him a muffin too. But you could still be horrible at your job. Just bad. But be smart enough to have that idea. Do you not agree that that's a fact? That's just an absolute fact.
Well, there are many in the universe. Every seconds of our life. Okay, there are many.
I asked you a
events
direct question though. So do you not agree? That's a yes or no question. Do you not agree that you can be smart enough to bring your boss a coffee and a muffin, and that's problem, solution, and still because you hope that that'll ingratiate you to your boss, and still not be very good at your job because they're different types of intelligence. Do you agree to that?
No,
yes or no?
I agree. I agree.
Okay.
I agree. But
So that's not that
okay.
hypothesis has no just a face value merit then.
No, wait. No, you didn't get it, because in
I feel like I
science,
might have got it because you acknowledged that I did.
no, yeah. I understand your explanation, your example, but what I
It
said
was
is
your
that
example.
we must be specific, and intelligence always big event specific X.
Okay.
So, for example, bringing a coffee is one X.
Okay.
Doing it, working in a company or another in another place is another X. So we cannot use the same. I mean, the same category.
Yeah.
Because
The definition of intelligence is definitely varies based on what you're doing.
it must be, the categorization must be every single X.
Oh, so
That's
every
why
single act has a different definition of intelligence.
no, intelligence
No.
is only one, but categorization are different.
Okay. So you
Because
can
when
be
you up, it depends
so,
on, because we are not talking about application of intelligence.
no. So we're
You
talking about the innate intelligence, like philosophical intelligence. So if you can't enact intelligence, what's the good of it? Just if it's just sitting inside your head doing nothing.
no, I mean, wait. What I said is that once we know when intelligence to non-intelligence, we can differentiate a worker who are using intelligence and who is not using intelligence.
Yes. Of course you can.
We can use that when,
By the
and we
quality
can
of their
also
work.
use we can also use that where intelligence in every act that in that work are going to do inside a company.
Every act
So
that they're going to do inside a company, including social
yeah,
interactions.
yes, can be
Right.
categorized through intelligence. That is why I said intelligence is so powerful in categorizing any acts in the entire universe, because we can now differentiate both non-intelligence acts and acts. And if we apply that to science, for example, in biology,
Okay.
before without my discovery, we don't know if cell is or not,
We
because we
don't
don't
know if
know
a
how
cell is what?
we don't know if cell CELL.
I know how to spell cell. I didn't hear what the last part of what you said was.
Okay,
Thank you. I
before
appreciate
I
the
discovered.
grade 4 spelling lesson. Thank you. I appreciate that, but I
Okay.
understood how to spell cell. I just didn't hear the rest of what you said. Without
Okay.
intelligence.
Okay, before I discovered intelligence, no one know if cell is designed intelligently or not intelligently. Do that. Even the supporters or scientists of the old intelligent design, they cannot do that, because they don't know the difference between intelligence to non-intelligence.
Until you discovered intelligence, nobody could tell if a cell was intelligently designed or not, because you came up with a really concise, parsimonious description of what intelligence is, and then everybody else adopted it.
And non-intelligence. No, and I mean, and non-intelligence. I know both intelligence and
If
non-intelligence.
you know what intelligence and non-intelligence are, how come you cannot give me a concise description? Wouldn't that be wouldn't that be intelligent of you to be able to give me, because you have not yet, give me a concise, parsimonious description of what intelligence is?
Oh, I already told you that. told you that intelligence is problem, solution.
And I already told
Like-
you that doesn't make sense and gave you an example, and you agreed that my example proved that you could have a problem and figure out two solutions and not necessarily be intelligent, not have intelligence that's transferable to all things. So are you
No, I mean,
suggesting
you are talking about agent, right? You are talking about an agent,
the person?
a person who is freely to use intelligence to non-intelligent. You know, human being has a free choice. We can use both, use intelligence and non-intelligence. So I can use intelligence. I can also use non-intelligence.
So if you're an
that is-
intelligent person, you can choose to ignore your intelligence, or
Yeah, we can do that. We can do
be
that.
intelligent.
Human being always use non-intelligence. For example, when you eat because you are hungry, you never use intelligence for that. You just eat. You have a problem, hunger, solution. You never use intelligence.
Okay.
You
So
see?
yeah, I agree that you
So,
don't
in a-
necessarily need to be intelligent to understand that you're hungry and that putting food in your mouth and chewing it and swallowing it will make you not hungry anymore.
Right? So
But
in other words,
I'm still waiting for the definition though.
so, but wait,
You
but
discovered intelligence. Why can't you tell me what intelligence is? You discovered it. You discovered it, Mr. ID.
Okay, intelligence
What
is
is
the
it?
principle. Okay,
And
intelligence
say problem,
is
solution, solutions. Where I swear to God, just do it. Say problem,
I
solution,
will
solution.
give you the actual definition.
Okay, yes, please.
Intelligence is the principle of reinforcing an X to exist, to succeed. Wait, I forgot. To succeed.
You forgot the definition of intelligence. This is the best day of my life. The man who discovered intelligence forgot the definition of intelligence. Everybody, mark down the day. January 1st, 2018. The man who
Okay, wait,
discovered intelligence.
I told you
I mean,
the day you would
you know,
never forget.
I've been I've been sharing this many times here in this in Steve channel, but I will recall.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's do
the
it. Blow my
principle-
mind.
Okay, it's the principle reinforcing an X to survive. I already forgot. I have to go to my book.
You
Okay?
didn't
I
write
have to go to
down.
my
You
book.
discovered intelligence and you didn't even write it down.
He had one of the greatest discovery of mankind. He already forgot it. It
They
happens.
didn't even know what
You wake up in the
cells
morning
were before you came. They
And
didn't
then
even
about
know
Okay,
what cells
a
were.
minute later,
Didn't
we
you
don't
write it
remember
down and
anymore.
give it to them so they could figure out what cells were? How do they even know? People don't even know what cells are now. I hope you're happy.
Or if he's repeating it over and over, wouldn't that mean he would know it better and not forget it?
Yes.
Shannon, I woke up this morning. I knew the meaning of life. About 30 seconds later, I totally forgot it. So it happens. It happens.
Oh my gosh, you're fun.
Yeah.
I love you, Mr. ID. This is enjoyable.
Steve, it's 42, dude. It's 42.
Yes, life and
Thank you.
everything. Where's your towel? Don't go. Where's your towel?
Well, I'm going to go to the Amazon because I share that definition free in Amazon, and I will read it to you. You know, because
Okay.
okay, I have many things to.
You're cutting out. I'm so sorry. You are adorable, Mr. ID. I really I think that there might be a mild language barrier, and I apologize for that. But I'm interested to find out what the real definition of intelligence is whenever you remember it. I can't wait to hear it.
And he has 6 books on this. So he figured that'd be.
It was prolific.
Well, he sold 3 copies, and I know who bought. 2 people who bought. So.
Oh, bless his heart. Well, I feel like your sound is cut out. I don't know if you're still there or not.
He's gone to
I-
Amazon to look for his definition.
Oh, bless his heart. That was fun.
I'm looking for the definition. Sorry.
Yes, please. What's the definition of intelligence? I've been waiting. I don't know if I'm smart or not, and I need to know right now. I'm in like stupid purgatory.
Intelligence is the principle of reinforcing an X. Wait.
I thought you found it.
I'm opening my
Greatest
books.
discovery known to man.
Oh my
and
gosh.
we have to go look it up.
I have to rely on my book because I have many. Sometimes I forgot many things.
Okay, you know what? You find me on Twitter. I'm Shan, I think _Q0 or something on Twitter. You find me on Twitter and you give me the definition because I want to hear it.
We'll have a part 2. How about that?
I legit want to hear it. I want to hear the definition.
There's a time difference there. What time is it in Japan? I have no idea.
I don't know.
It's 2:45
in the morning.
Yeah.
Oh God, you're tired too.
Yeah.
Bless your heart.
No, in the afternoon.
Tired.
In the afternoon.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
I'm way more
then
tired at 3 in the
I'm tired.
afternoon.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
wait.
Oh, you said Japan. Oh, okay.
Oh, I think he's got it.
It's 1 o'clock Paul's
Okay,
time.
I have it. Okay, I have it. Okay, the definition is intelligence is the principle of reinforcing an X to survive, to exist, and to succeed in a certain degree of importance. And it always acts on a symmetrical phenomenon.
Symmetrical phenomenon.
No, asymmetrical. It's one word, not asymmetrical.
Not it
asymmetrical.
always acts on asymmetrical phenomenon.
We know his definition. Shannon, we know his definition better than he does.
I wrote in the chat.
Oh, okay. All right. So
In the internal chat here, there it is.
oh, there it is. Okay. Intelligence is the principle of reinforcing an X to survive, to exist, and to succeed in a certain degree of importance. And it always acts on an asymmetrical phenomena. So that sentence doesn't make a lot of sense. Let's break it down. Okay, so intelligence is a principle of reinforcing an X to survive. So when you say reinforcing an X to survive, so what does that mean? Does that mean you've discovered something and you're gonna
let's break it down. Okay.
Please.
Intelligence is the principle. So I mean, in other words, is used by an intelligent agent.
Right.
So, and reinforcing an X. So if you're is making a coffee.
Oh Jesus.
Or that.
Okay. Yeah.
If you would like to reinforce that by adding sugar to your coffee or bringing a teaspoon or something like that to your boss.
But if the act is X, that's not reinforcing X. I think that you might have used language in a slightly incorrect fashion here because that is adding a component to X. So if X is making coffee,
adding a component
principle of elaborating on or adding to X to survive, and also bringing coffee to your boss isn't a survival tactic. It's
I call it reinforcement because I derived it. Well, that's how I define it based on my experiment. I use that definition based on my experiment of egg and tissue paper.
You did an experiment?
Oh, don't.
You did?
All right, I'll tell you what.
People?
No.
Well, then how do you know what intelligence is if you're like...
Shannon, I'm going to let him.
You did this, Steve. So don't like. How do you know what intelligence is if you did an experiment that didn't involve people?
Well, it involved him. He's a person, and his assistant. I will let him explain to you. I tell you what, I'll let him explain to you his experiment in detail. We do got to wrap this up soon.
I have to go to bed.
But I don't think we have. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna be able to talk about it much. But why don't you take a few minutes, Mr. ID, and explain to Shannon your experiment And that's EGG experiment, egg experiment.
No, there was eggs. Why are there eggs?
There's eggs.
Why? Why are there
Yes.
eggs?
Oh, she's so naive on this topic.
Well,
It's so virgin,
well,
like virgin.
actually,
I feel like we're corrupting her. I don't know why we're doing this to her. I just don't.
How
Shannon's
did-
so
how did
nice.
eggs
Why are we
tell you
doing this to her?
intelligence are- Steve, shut up for a second. Why did you need eggs?
This is not going to go
I
well.
use a raw egg. I use a raw egg and drop it to a tissue paper.
Okay.
Okay, so as I've told you, intelligence is a principle, and the only way to test a principle is to use an event. Then we need to use a materials and time.
Okay.
Materials I use paper. Sounds fair?
You cut out a little bit there, but I still don't understand what information eggs going through tissue paper gives you about intelligence.
I use that as an event
Yeah, that's
because
an event.
I must test intelligence. Okay. I
Okay.
repeat, to test in reality, I must use an event.
Right. Why that one though? Why that event?
Right
Why was that
question.
the event that you were like, you know what, this one's gonna
That's
tell
a
me
good
why people
question.
aren't
That's a good
intelligent.
question. That's a good question.
Yeah, right.
Very
It
good
is.
question.
I'm intelligent.
The question that no one had ever asked in science about intelligence.
Was why do you use eggs and tissue paper? Was that the question?
I actually use an egg because like Einstein and the whole world will going to use intelligence, my intelligence, and will going to duplicate my experiment, and it is fun in tissue paper.
And did you say and it's fun to put
Okay.
eggs through tissue paper? You're cutting out a little bit because I feel like that's probably true. But I still like if I had eggs and tissue paper right now, I'd want to see what happened. But I don't understand what that would tell me about how smart I am. Well, you know what? Maybe I just answered my own question.
For me, okay.
People are saying this is the best pseudoscience hangout ever. Live chat's going crazy.
Thanks,
Oh, if you guys
thanks
could
for
see
the
it, it's
link,
hilarious.
Steve. There's pictures of eggs on the wiki link. I love it.
And Ocean has the funniest one. He has this little emoticon. He has
Oh,
this
no.
picture of an egg,
I
like
still
a
don't know why
newspaper.
there's eggs. Like,
little thing
Steve,
going.
can you tell me what does he think eggs?
I can, unfortunately. I don't know if I want to.
Do it, please, because I just need to
Okay.
know, and I don't feel like I'm going to get
Okay,
it before I have to go to bed.
Yeah, okay, because we got to end this soon. Edgar had developed an experiment where he had a box, and basically what he did was he took a stack of tissue papers, and he would drop an egg on there from a predetermined height.
Okay.
And if it didn't fall through the tissue paper, what he would do is he would take one. No, I'm sorry. He started off with one tissue paper, and he dropped an egg, and if it fell through, right?
Right.
And what he would do is he would add another piece of tissue paper.
So we just kept adding tissue paper until the egg
until it didn't fall through. When it no longer fell through, he solved the problem. Problem, solution.
But that's only one
Agent
solution.
Stone satellite.
That was what I was just gonna say. There's only one solution.
The solution is keep adding tissue paper until you hit the point that you don't have to add tissue paper anymore.
He intelligently designed the solution.
But you can
real
say that about
intelligence.
any problem that you find a solution to.
Well, I
Don't
guess
think
the
that is
other
his accomplishment.
solution.
It
I
doesn't
guess
need
the
to
other
involve eggs.
the other solution would be don't drop the egg.
But if the problem is the egg has to drop,
Okay.
right?
Well, there's one good thing that came of this.
I'll grant him that. Like, but
Shannon,
that logic what? My head. This is amazing. How
there's
does
one
it
good
think
thing.
like that?
I'll
This
tell
is
you,
amazing. Your brain. Wow.
Shannon, Edgar now makes the best scrambled eggs on the planet. So,
He
but
probably
believe what
makes
he's
a mean
saying, though.
omelet too.
Edgar
Mean
believes what he's saying, and I.
oh yes,
I just
Oh,
want
yes.
to understand
I
it, but I
think-
don't know if we can because I think there's a language barrier, and I think that might be a big issue.
No, it's not. No, he's fluent in English. It's not a linguistic thing. I put the link in the group chat, and
Yes.
he wrote this, right. This is when we first came up with the wiki. One of the conditions we had is you don't write your own wiki page, you know. And by the way, everybody in the Great Debate community, if you guys can start helping again with the wiki, go to the wiki. You can write your own page now. Shameless, go fill it in. The only really kind of rule per se is it has to be kind of, you know, true, but you can embellish and you can be comical and humorous and satire. But we all know where the limit on that, you know. But make it interesting. But make your own page. So if you listen to this, go make your page on the Great Debate community. You don't even have to sign in. You know, anybody can do it anonymously, or you can do it under your own account. It's preferred that way, but whatever works. So start working on that, because we have hundreds of pages now, and everybody is using it to kind of go, oh, I have a channel. Here's my page. You can go, you know, check me out here, using it as a bio, right? Which is perfectly acceptable by all means. If you have a channel, like Heretic Woman, you have a little thing, and if you want to say, hey, this is about my channel, which you do, you can link that anywhere so people can get an idea about you, right? It's really quick info stuff. You like it, right?
Yes. I got to update it though, because I launched a new show last week.
Yeah, great. Update your thing. So you can go read about him on the wiki there, Shannon, and you can
and there's
all he
pictures
believes.
of eggs breaking.
Yeah,
It's awesome. I still don't understand what intelligence.
we've been figuring that out for years now. I brought Edgar in this community years ago, and it has been a nonstop wild ride of what the hell is intelligence ever since. So I'm surprised you haven't dealt with it before, because it's not the first time it's come up.
No.
Yeah, I've seen him in the chat a few times before.
I never really go into it. Okay.
We'll have additional hangouts on it. A lot of stuff planned. We got so many things planned coming up.
Can you introduce me to G-Man next?
Now that's an experience.
Wait, you have not? Really?
No,
Oh,
I don't even know what even know what he's about.
Done. Let me handle that. I got you covered, girl. I got you covered. We'll do that.
G-Man.
He's gonna have a blast with that.
Who is?
So I want everybody to recognize the fact that
you're gonna have a blast with G-Man.
Okay. Yay.
I am corrupting her from day one, just FYI. So don't blame me. Just blame her.
Say G-Man, and people say G-Man's name in the chat, and I'm like, who's that guy?
We'll make that happen.
I love meeting people like that.
And we'll make that happen. Do you know who you actually Shannon should have this discussion with?
Who?
Neffy.
No.
Nephilim 3.
Oh geez.
Do it.
She's like has this look on her face, like who?
I have no idea what these people are.
You haven't even. Oh, you got to experience Nephilim free at one point.
Innocent, like
Add him to the list. Steve will start a series. The Shannon talks to people she's never freaking heard
I'm already ahead of you. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I am so doing it. Shannon talks to.
Oh, totally.
We're gonna call it the Idiot Whisperer.
My mom told me not to talk to strangers, but I don't listen to my mom.
You can start taking auditions after you go through like the regular Clown Car Posse. You can start taking auditions.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, she doesn't know. She doesn't know any of this stuff.
Paul, is this okay that we do? I feel like we're de-virginizing her, and
yeah, she's a big girl.
Yeah, I don't need his permission. Don't ask his permission. I'm right here. Here I am, right here. You can talk to me. I'm a big girl.
Don't fall this later on. But you know what? If I have the Idiot Whisperer, do you think guests will be offended?
Probably.
This is a great title.
Yes, I would be.
It is.
If you were like, hey, Shannon, I want to have a hangout. This girl's like the Idiot Whisperer, and I think she should talk to you. I'd be like, go fuck yourself.
Such a shame.
You have to come up with a really obscure word that also means idiot, so it sounds super intelligent.
Or not. We're on the internet right now. People can see us. I don't know if you realize that. Maybe I just want to talk to people. I just love talking to people who
I will come up with a neutral kind of name, but I will arrange that anytime you want. We'll make it.
I want to start with G-Man because I want to meet him really bad. I refuse to watch anything that he does. I refuse to be exposed to him before I meet him. I want to go in raw.
G-Man will be very, very nice to you. I assure you.
Really?
Oh yeah. He'll be sickly sweet. Are you kidding?
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's not fun. All right, sure. I'll do it anyway. That's fine.
No, he has a thing for your type.
What's my type?
We won't go into that. The live chat knows.
Yeah, that might be giving away a little too much.
Yeah. But anyways, I got to end this, guys. I want to thank everybody. This was great. We got a little bit into the obviously the topic of the pseudoscience and communication and how to approach it. And I think this was a very interesting way to demonstrate. Shannon, you actually did a great theory to practice and how to actually demonstrate to have a conversation with somebody who promotes pseudoscience, because Mr. ID Edgar he's a pseudoscience king. He and by the way, he supposedly has a background in engineering, just FYI. But that has yet to be demonstrated because of reasons. But
because of reasons.
Yeah. So,
well, I mean, he's good at engineering scrambled eggs.
Yeah, that's a culinary art, though.
Don't be mean.
Okay,
I still want to know what the definition of intelligence is.
You may never know. It'd be like, like the how many licks it takes to the center of a Tootsie Pop. We still figured that out since I was 3. I still don't know. I'm gonna die without that knowledge. So the people in the live chat, a lot of them want to go have discussions more about this on the Great Debate Community Discord. Ocean has set that up. Its link is in the video description right now. Shameless wants to go in there and talk about certain things. So everybody, we have like 70 people watching, whatever. If you guys want to continue the dialogue, talk about whatever, there's multiple different rooms. The link to the video, to the Discord, is in the video description. Go check it out. It's going to get huge. I think Ocean's projections is on target. I think that he's done a wonderful job setting it up, and now we just need to get people into there. And then after a while, we'll start running streams from there. So get familiar with it. Go check it out. I know a lot of people are heading over there right now. So I'm going to be ending this. Shannon, thank you very much for joining us. This was great. You did an exceptionally great job, and I'll make the arrangements for future conversations with people. How about that?
Okay. Yay!
Yeah. Yeah, you don't know what you're in for.
I can handle it.
You just don't.
I'm ready.
You've just scratched the surface of Edgar right now.
I'm gonna make my way through the whole Great Debate community. Let's go. Let's do it.
You know what we'll do? I'll tell you what, Edgar, if you can still hear me, because I know your mic is jacked right now, but you can still hear me. What we'll do the next time we have you, we'll get your test, right? He has an actual test, and we'll go through it with people. I've done it. And we'll have Shannon and Mr. Intelligent Design answer the questions. Like, it'll be like Agent Stone is equal to problem solution, problem satellite problem. It's that kind of question. And the highest I think we've ever got was like 40%, and I think that's pretty good. So, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. I mean, I think it's one of those tests. The better you do, the more you don't understand science.
Like the more divorced from reality you are, the better.
It's one of those ones you really want to fail miserably on.
You know what? I can excel at that. There's days, I'm telling you, that I'm super divorced from reality.
You know what I'm talking about, right, Edgar?
Yes, I know. I know it. Don't worry.
All right. Well,
I will.
Go ahead, Edgar.
I will surely share to you my new discovery because I think in our generation we have a new discovery, and we are going to use it for humanity, and it is good. It's really good if you know that.
Great for humanity. So with that note, we are going to end this. Heretic, thanks a lot for dropping by. Paulogia, a pleasure as always. I will get with you later. Yep, we love having you on. Paulogia, we'll get with you, probably tomorrow, like that. So get some sleep, guys. Live chat. Thank you all for watching. I had a lot of people enjoying this. I like this type of thing we're going forward with, and we're going to be just blowing up in 2018. So come along for the ride. And if you want to go talk to Shamos and other people on Discord, go for it. I might drop in myself here after I go eat. So go ahead and head over to Discord, and I might listen in and drop in as well. So we'll see you over there. For people that have watched this video in the future, if you make it this far, first of all, my apologies. But please share this on media. Share it on. Go to the little share link. There's different things that pop up. Share it on Stumble, upon Twitter, Reddit, whatever. We really want to start promoting various people's media video on various media formats and getting it out there, because I'm going to be promoting the Geek Room and working with Holy Kool-Aid and Rachel Oates. They have a podcast coming up that I want to do some stuff with, and a lot of other things going on. So, anyways, guys, thank you for the very kind words in the live chat. Thank you, guys. I'm glad you guys enjoyed this. People are asking for the Discord. Once again, the Discord is in the video description. It says GDC Discord. With that, thank you guys very much, and I'm glad you guys had a safe and happy New Year.